consumer of healthcare really changes the game. Because a lot of times, if you're telling the doctor that, that's wrong, like if they feel like they're right, they're just going to ignore you, and they're just going to, just say, so this kind of empowers you to like push
Accurate
back and say like, no.
Yeah.
So that's the like diagnosis, like fixing that side of it. The technology I'm most excited about as far as like miracle cures, is they are able to, so you have this thing called DNA and you have this thing called RNA. So most people know about DNA, but most people don't think much about RNA. And RNA is essentially what decides what out of, so you have this big DNA sequence and you have kind of this RNA laid over it, and the RNA decides what out of the sequence of your DNA is active or inactive.
Yep.
And that DNA, like, it can't change itself fast enough to like facilitate something like evolution. So that's where a lot of people have issues with evolution, because they don't learn about RNA as well. And RNA is something that you could switch features off relatively quick. Like in the course of my life, I could have my RNA switched various genes on or off, based on various stimuluses.
Right.
So being able to dynamically, like, say, hyper target sections of DNA and RNA and say that's what that does. Now let's, instead of like editing your DNA, right? Because that's just kind of like mystery box, right? Who knows? It's like if the example I give is an IT example of like, if you were just to edit the system files in the operating system, like just be editing them, like you might be able to debug it yourself, but you might also mess something up that bricks the computer, right? So being able to edit on an RNA level, and how it works is, like if you've ever coded a website or anything, you can put these little brackets around things that are comments. So to like tell the compiler, don't read this. This is just a comment in the code. So it works kind of like that, this RNA technology we have, to where you can turn on and off various sequences of things that are ailing you. And that, I think, is like far and away the most profound like medical breakthrough that we've ever.
So we have that technology right now. Right now we have it.
Correct. Yeah. So it's just about kind of like teaching people about it. Like obviously we got to like fix the medical schools, right? Because they still do things. Yeah. So we got to like get it out there. We got to, and the biggest thing is, we've had these evil corporations controlling like the DNA editing companies for so long that everybody's skeptical of that, right? They don't want to get it. And what people don't realize is that when we're trying to like decipher the genome, the best way to do that is to have as much data as possible, right? So we can kind of eliminate things that we don't know. And kind of the way you do that is, like my cousin, I won't say his name right now, but he had a genetic disease called like von Hippolyitis or something. It's like a fast growing set of cancers. And so if you're trying to isolate the genome for that and you don't know what it is, the best way to understand that is to go get a bunch of people with that disease, sequence all their genomes, right? And eliminate out all the stuff that isn't right. And then you have kind of this window left. And with supercomputing, with quantum computing, we kind of find those needles in the haystack way quicker. But the best way for us to advance that field is for us all to like get DNA tested. And so in order to like advance ourselves as like a human race, we got to like get these vampires out of here that are making everybody distrust the idea of getting your DNA sequence, right? And we got to set legal frameworks in place where it's like, this is my DNA. I own this. I can take it away from you. You know what I mean? This is not just something that you get to keep and sell. Because right now, if you do the consumer DNA test, they just take your data and sell that to pharmaceutical companies for boatloads of money, right? So it's like, so how is that? Like, I paid you money for my DNA, and then you just get to take it and use it for forever for whatever you want. Yeah. And so we got to set some legal frameworks around that make people trust it, and that will help us just blow through a lot of these really tough medical issues that have been plaguing us for a long time.
I'm just looking at the chat. Some people say sex bots will weed out the